Hi, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be working with a Tumbler. I believe that's the way that you actually say it. I get it from the Stainless Steel Depot. And the cool thing about this cup is on the bottom, if you unscrew that bottom there, it will have a collapsible straw, which is pretty awesome for camping, boating, things like that. It just untwists and folds down right in there. Pretty awesome, right? So we're gonna go ahead and put that and the lid back in the box, and that's how I store mine until I'm done with the cup. And then we're gonna work on prepping. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start sanding this down, scuffing up this stainless steel, and that's gonna give our paints and our epoxy a really good adhesive to our tumbler. Alright, so we're going to wash that off, and then what I'm going to do with this is I just tape off this bottom part where the straw stores, and that's just to keep paint, spray paint, things like that, just out of this little compartment, so to say. It just makes it easier in the long run. So I use the Frog painter's tape. It works really well for me, and just go up along the rim, and then I just tape right on the inside, and that just keeps it nice and clean. And then once we finish our tape here, I'm going to take it outside and just spray paint my cup with a flat white Rust-Oleum paint, and then we'll be ready for our next step. Alright, so let's get some glitter on here. And I'm going to go and use the epoxy method, which is the method I use 90% of the time here. And we're just going to smooth a very thin layer. You guys have seen me do this a million times, but just in case you haven't, we're just going to get that very, very thin layer. We don't want the glitter to move around once we get it on our tumbler. And once we have that very thin coat, we're going to add our glitter. And I'm going to be working with I Smell Snow, which you can find on my website. It's a beautiful white. It's my go-to white. I use it. I swear I think I use it on almost every cup one way or another. I go through this glitter like crazy. So it is beautiful. It does hold an amazing sparkle under epoxy, and it's my favorite white. So we're going to start by focusing just right here down at the bottom, making sure we get a very good coverage of our glitter, and then I just start to gradually work up my cup, and then do the same thing, focus around the rim, and just make sure we get a very good coverage of coat with our glitter here. Alright, so we're ready for epoxy, and this is the chunky glitter that we're going to use. I got this from a destash group, so I will try to find a link for it. It was one that somebody was just kind of getting rid of, and I've just been wanting to use for a while, so I will do my best to find that for you guys, but if not, that's what I'm using here. And I'm just going to go ahead and put just a normal coat of epoxy on. I don't tend to put on thick coats or flood coats. I find that it causes more issues for me. So I do relatively thin layers on my tumblers, and we're going to use this to apply our chunky glitter. We're just going to do a quick swipe over with the heat gun, make sure we got any bubbles that may appear, that they're popped. And then we're going to start laying down this awesome chunky glitter here. So I have it in a cup, and I'm just going to very slowly and carefully tap my cup and let it naturally fall. As you can see, I'm starting here at the bottom and kind of letting my turner do the work here. And it's just going to lay flat, and I'm just going to keep gradually going up, not too far, just to kind of give it that nice pretty little ombre look. With chunky glitter, one thing you do want to watch out for is any glitter standing up. I will just kind of watch my cup go around, and if I see a piece or two standing up, I'll either push it down with my finger or pluck it off. That will just make the next layer of epoxy just go that much easier. Another trick that I also learned is I do spray paint mine with a clear Rust-Oleum sealer. It's the same one I use for everything. Sorry, my camera's going out of focus there. And it just helps prevent any fish eyes from creating with the epoxy. Alright, so we're all sprayed, we're ready to go. I'm going to sand just a little bit around the edges here, and I don't have another coat of epoxy on top of that chunky glitter, so just make sure you're really careful. If you're worried about it, you could put another layer on and then do your sanding. For me, I just know I needed to do it around the edges and not the middle part of the cup. Once we have it all sanded, we're just going to go ahead and wash it off, and then we're going to be ready for our water slide. Alright, so we have our water slide. As you can see, it's already been printed and sealed, and I put mine in very little bit of lukewarm water. Now, don't confuse that with warm water, like very, very little bit of lukewarm. Maybe about room temperature, and I find that that's usually the best temperature as far as water to apply my water slide. And I let that sit for about 30 to 45 seconds, give or take, and I make sure that my tumbler is wet, so I will put a little bit of water on there. Just makes it easier once you get the image on to kind of move it around and adjust it to where you would like. Alright, so we're just going to test our image, and I kind of just push it up a little bit, and I notice once it starts to slide off the paper that it's ready to go. I'm going to start from the top and just kind of slowly, very slowly, pull that white paper underneath while holding it up at the top, just to kind of keep that image still. Alright, so we're going to start by just holding the image at the very top and very slowly pulling out that white from underneath. Once you get it on there, I'm going to use my silicone brush and I just dip it in the water just to smooth out any bubbles that we have. You want to make sure that you don't have any water trapped under that image, otherwise it will show when you go to apply your epoxy. And we're just going to get that nice and smooth. I work a little bit with the silicone brush, and then I will go to my paper towel, which I typically have kind of damp, and just kind of pat dry it and let this image dry. I let it dry usually anywhere from an hour to 2, depending on the temperature of my room. And then we're just going to apply another coat of epoxy, and that will be it for the tumbler. Pretty easy design, really fun to do. And I'm actually going to show you how I make a little matching keychain that's a little American flag. And so we're going to go ahead and do that right now in this next step. Alright, so here's our little American chain mold. I'm going to add some of the I Smell Snow into the epoxy, mix that up, and then I'm going to lay a little bit of that chunky glitter down first, and then apply sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Apply that epoxy just right on the top, and we're just going to let this sit for 24 hours and add our hardware. Alright, so this is all finished. We're going to go ahead and demold this. I have this little kit here that I got on Amazon that keeps all of my hardware for my keychains, which will be linked down in the description below. We're just going to get a little jump ring, pretty easy, put it in the little heart in the corner and apply your keychain, and that's it. So it's a super simple way to just add a little extra something to your tumbler, add it as a little gift. I list it on my website, and sometimes I will include these with those as well. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thanks again for watching.